Uh, anyways, I believe he's a Captain Falcon player.
Yeah,
I
he
play
plays
it.
Captain Falcon, Wolf, Dedede, as we see here as well. This is one I actually haven't seen from Zerango very commonly, but I do know that he's played him in tournaments before.
Have to see how it goes here.
Also, what the fuck? Great going Wi-Fi seriously. I've never seen this, but it doesn't entirely surprise me that he would try something like this. Alright, here we go. So Great is pretty notably a Wolf and Mewtwo player locally. But like here we're seeing this Zerasu, and I'm so far liking the pick so far. I feel like Zerasu is just like, I mean Zerasu is just a solid character in general already, but like there's some things that Zerasu can really get away with online. Like punishing flip kick is a very hard thing to do for one thing, and if you can get away with flip kick a lot, then you're just going to be able to control space a lot too. But like,
I mean, I find it to be a double-edged sword. Where at least when I play online, I feel like flips a little bit because it's hard for me to throw out, like, I play Cloud a lot, so some of his aerials, right, especially his forward air is like kind of laggy, and so I'm trying to do this like micro spacing where I'm throwing things out to keep the opponent out, but so playing a fast character online especially, I believe is a challenge. But like you say, grade 0 here, looking sharp.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I'm more like seeing a lot of really good rush down options from Grade right now, and a lot of good setups. Like that Paralyzer gun already lets us so much too off of that throw for the second stock. And like DDD's already like getting to this point where like if Grade hits a hit confirm, it will land into another stock for him. So Zerango has to be very careful with the way that he gets the stones with DD right now. I like that though.
The coverage is amazing.
The awareness to cover flip kick is definitely a strong point to have. And if you hit ZSS out of her flip kick, she won't be able to get another one, which works great for edge guarding her as well.
Takes her recovery down a notch.
Like that move gives her a lot of mobility already. When she also has her tether, her jump and up B, but like she loses that down B, she loses a lot of her horizontal recovery otherwise.
Remind me of the name
flip
of
kick right there.
Oh.
It looked like the position that Grade was like close to the ledge was to bait out Zerango to put out that hitbox right there that he could just flip over. It was kind of risky to put on an F tilt there in that position from Zerango, I feel like.
Down throw, what can he make of it?
Not too much. DDD, however, can get down throw nair. I think down throw backer also works. I think like there's a lot of DI dependent stuff as well with this kind of character. But it's like
he's
really
really
a lot of like
trying.
30% combos.
He's really trying his best to control space with Gordo, but I mean, Zero Suit's just so.
I'm actually seeing the way that Zerango is playing in the air. I feel like he's trying to cover airspace, which is a very comfortable zone for ZSS to be in too. Oh my god! I thought that was gonna kill. Oh, that setup was really good though. Zerango was still out there, was able to use one of his jumps to clip him after with the forward air, and he's able to take the stock now. Like you see, he's doing all these fastball nairs to cover the space so that ZSS can't get in as easily. But Grade sneaks up above him with that down air to get him in the air. Which can be a bad
when you're such
a oh yeah, chase after with the back air. He's forced Zerango low because Zerango can't deal with ZSS going high right there.
Sarah coming out.
Yep, to cover the jump after the paralyzer.
Getting
right
grabbed
now. I
now.
can see Great is like dating out and scouting options with one option. The less committal option. Ooh. He's gonna be okay.
Just taking it.
He's gonna get that up smash too. Apparently, somebody said that Wi-Fi DDD is the strongest character in the game, and I wonder if that's gonna be true if he can make this comeback.
Yeah,
because I feel like this character can still struggle a lot in disadvantages stuff, but otherwise, Gordo can be very hard to punish for a lot of people.
I'm really liking Zerango. Go play right now. Ooh, okay, that's gonna be it.
That was extremely close right there. He was able to just flip kick through the animation of up smash, and not enough time for Zerango to mash out of that one. So, Grade is going to take game number 1.
I was going to say, it's the risk of slowing the game down a bit, like Grade was doing, and waiting for offense from Zerango is, I think he got up to 70% there, which for Dedede is not, I mean, almost kill percent. The risk of slowing it down is if you're not succeeding, right? You're giving your opponent time to catch a breath and time to get percentage on you. So, if you can't finish a heavy hitter like Dedede, you're in danger.
But I can see where your logic is. I
He
think
pulled.
that what I saw is that the way that Zerango played, remember how it was taking note of how Zerango is using his aerials to cover airspace a lot, and he's putting out a lot of really fast hitboxes. It's forcing Great to respect him. It's forcing Great to slow that game plan down. So I feel like that was on Zerango's part to make that adjustment and force Great to play differently there in a way that Zerango would have a better chance of adapting and beating him. And it almost worked, like you said.
Right, it's hard because there's an aspect of, I mean, nothing's, I mean, there is no right option in every case. There's a matter of learning what your opponent's going to do and playing around it. There's a matter of knowing when to, like, forget what you've learned. Does that benefit me to use what I've learned, right? Because it's always the interplay between opponents. The best players can see when their opponent starts to adapt and can decide how they want to make use of that.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, I think that's a very good point. Is like keeping an eye on how when the player adapts and seeing how you can make use of that too, compared to how they initially play it. I feel like the adaptation is very more important, especially at high level play, because there's always going to be that kind of adaptation.
It's so hard, right? I mean,
to be ready for it.
It's interesting because it's hard to say what the right decision is going to be. If you notice someone's adapting to you, or you notice that you've learned something from your opponent, but how long before they realize that what they were doing isn't going to work anymore, and what does that mean that your opponent's going to do next when they see that that you've adapted?
Mm-hmm.
So
and that can vary based off a player too. You can have you can use that adaptation knowledge of like whether they're adapting to it in a certain way, or if they're not, you can use that to condition them into even bigger punishes.
And then there's the next, there's that layer of, I mean, I'd say the worst players just stick to their game plan and don't adapt. But at the highest level, what about not adapting? Because your opponent thinks that's what's coming. Anyways.
Yeah, there's a level of play where people don't adapt. Then there's a level of play where people do adapt, but it takes them a slower time, or they just adapt in some spaces, but there's other places where they still won't adapt. It gets more complex the higher level the game goes, honestly.
So let's see what
so
these players
get up. Right here. It's kind of looking like he's just waiting for Grade a little bit more. Ooh, what the heck?
All right, sometimes you gotta
just kind of crawling right there.
Sometimes you gotta play stupid and throw the big smash out. That's just throw it out.
Grade didn't really have a lot of time to do anything out of the crawl animation right there. Unless he could, I think you can just straight up jab out of that, honestly. I don't know why he didn't just throw out a hitbox there, but either way, Zerango was playing that first stock really well. Regardless of that, he got that lead and then cornered Grade, put him in a spot where he could lose his stock really quickly, and he just took it right there. So now, notice he's using this neutral B. He's using this sometimes with the Gordo, and sometimes he's just putting it out to try to inhale the Paralyzer and shoot it right back at CSS. With Dedede, I think every projectile that he can inhale will always go at the same speed and the same direction too. Like if you throw a Yoshi egg at him, it goes straight back. I'm just using that as an example of this.
I see.
Okay.
All right.
Good punish right there.
Yeah.
Super Dedede jump has a lot of lag when you land with it. Even though it has a lot of hitboxes to try to protect them if you're up close to him, if you just like position yourself away from it, you're able to get a good punish on it. Okay. So you see that back throw right there was to force an option, and a back throw isn't something that you would expect very much from the Zero Suit. You'd expect more other throws, and he's doing this so that he can bait out an aggressive option from Zerango, and he gets that hit there. And now Zerango has to try to get back to stage control, which Great is holding down really well. Gets that shield grab on the side B. Good opening for him there.
Knocks the Gordo away, but another one's connecting. Ooh. Gotta get off that ledge. Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like a form of conditioning. They're always there, and so it's like, you're getting used to seeing them. You're getting used to them being bouncing around, and like they weren't hitting before. So you know, if Grade just has to go back to his more style now, I thought he looked awfully confident.
Oh, that was so good! Zerango
Wow.
recognized that he was knocked away enough that he would be able to up B, or that he wouldn't get hit by the up B, and he was able to up tilt that. What a good punish right there on that.
Yeah, dominating the space around his character. Don't get too comfortable, you know, near him. It's interesting, you know, if characters play so air heavy, and they start to think they can infringe on your airspace. Sometimes that's the wake-up call. You know, they lose the stock for it.
Oh yeah, good back air right there on the inhale. A lot of active hitboxes will beat that out if somebody tries to use that. Alright, so Zerango still the slight lead. Alright, gonna punish that up tilt right there after Great tries to reposition himself from the wind box pulling him in. Zerango, he's playing this very patiently right now. He's not even running in, he's just
menacing. He's just standing there.
Yeah, I don't know about landing on the platform though. That's a good spot for ZSS to set up a combo. Our best combos come from up air. Already, lots of percent. He's gonna commit to the boost kick.
Doesn't get punished too hard.
I think he could have gotten a way better punish, but he didn't. Oh, he committed to that option. Yo, I love that.
Talk about armor.
I felt like Zerango committed to that too early, but instead he held onto it in case Gray tried to challenge it. And when he put out that side B, Dedede just armored right through it as Zerango times that perfectly to get the game.
We saw him do that twice in the game. You know, just take the stock. You have some suspicion about what the other player throw out the big hit, and you know, if they're not ready for it, if it's too, you know, sometimes it just hits. Some reactions in the chat. Grade. Wait, what? It does that? Since when? I didn't know, he says. Zerango armor, baby. Yeah. Okay, we're not getting Kalos. Where are we playing now?
Yeah, I'm like interested on the stage too. Zerango seemed to favor that close quarter stage with the platform setup. I think there's like he kind of wants to avoid getting camped, so I wonder if that's really the case here. Great's gonna take this to a bigger stage, and that might concern it to me.
I mean, my impression is with a slow-moving character, the less distance you have to chase somebody, the better. So
yeah, I would say that's true. So Town and City, this is one of the bigger stages. However, this has the highest ceiling of the bigger stages. So that being said, I don't think that benefits either of these two, to be honest. But I think that DSS can benefit from getting earlier kills off the side.
let's see how it works.
Speaking of that, that's set up almost perfectly for a spike. And you'll find that a lot when characters cornered by ZSS. Because they'll find these setups with the flip kick.
Gordo getting kicked back there, just about killing Dedede there. Maybe not quite, but look at that. He seems to be batting back more Gordos now. They're not hitting as much as your last game. Grade, maybe changing up his plans a little bit.
If you kind of just let Gordos control that space, then Dedede has that space to use that as a wall to get through as well.
I don't think one of these have got through uncontested by Grade. He seems to be waiting the Gordo coming out, and then it's obviously very reactable. Zerango's got to change up his offense a little bit.
It forces Zerango to run in, which
Yeah.
Grade has been baiting out some of his swings and punishing.
I'm seeing
Now
the
he's
hammer
just
coming out.
staying center with his back air. He's holding center as much as he can. Whereas Grade switches up that positioning.
Platforms are gone for now. Who does that favor, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't really feel like the platform
Oh, he lived.
is too big of a thing here. But as I say that, it's beneficial for ZSS because she's able to reset her jumps and chase after Zerango there with that up air. So even though this is the highest ceiling on the stage, you can still get these kind of kills if you have that kind of positioning for it. I've been saying a lot of terminology with the same today. It's interesting.
Zerango, another one of those big wake-up call area can. You know, you gotta respect DDD at kill percent. You know, imploring Grade to play safe once again. You know, it's interesting because he's been playing so defensively and spiking Gordos, waiting, and then one little slip where you're in his airspace, the big move comes out. You know, and it's good when you're playing a heavy to remind your opponent just how dangerous you can be.
Speaking of dangerous right there, Grade was just outside of that Gordo's range, menacing with those backers, threatening with them rather. As Zerango, here we go. He has an opening here where he's able to do that landing there and get that upper after to whiff punish Grade. Nair is probably like the best aerial that DD has for aerial whiff punishes because it's the quickest one and it sets up for a lot of his combos too.
I'm liking it right now. Of course, as we Grade racked up quite a lot of percent, but
yeah, as Zerango just got
Zerango's
a
getting
lot
his
of momentum off of that too. As you were just about to say,
a lot
just
of
cutting that off.
Not at all. A lot of back and forth here. This is what I.
Close to an up throw percent, so like it is like a leggier option for. Challenging paralyzer done with Gordo. And sometimes it has worked, but even so. But yeah, this is looking like Zerango's game to lose at this point. Like, he's doing these fastball nairs again to force the respect, because if Grade gets hit by one of those, that could potentially set up for a backer and kill him.
Grade now looking like he wants to go in. Needs
and
to
if he
hit
can't
something.
get in time, Gordo's eventually going to knock him down. Flip kick to evade, but
Ooh.
the up tilt to cover that dash in, but he's still alive, he's still in it. But he has to get in to get a combo started, and that means he has to commit, which means that Zerango's going to be looking for that. And a Gordo with the hammer swing combined. That will finish it.
Surprising stuff. You know, looking at Grade's play, looking at his defensive moves, his spacing, you know, for a lot of the game, it looks he has the advantage or he's setting the pace, but, you know, DDD really relatively few times and things swing in his favor. It's just what a volatile matchup.